Thanks everyone for joining today. Really exciting stuff. We had such a great turnout, really wonderful faces in the audience. And we're joined by some wonderful folks in the panel as well, which I cannot wait to introduce in just a minute. Before we get started, just to do a little bit of kind of placematting of the exhibition and why this conversation kind of takes place. Why I never see you at the club, the way that we kind of think about the club as a space for play, for risk, for appreciation, for connections making, but it's also a place for harm, for a place for disconnection, for a lot of different ways that we can kind of live in the city. A really cheesy way to think of club as a microcosm of our city, but this I feel a lot of connections as the conversation kind of unfolds today will show exactly how history is kind of connecting to each other and how different people are connecting to each other, and despite us doing very different things. So I'm really excited to kind of bring the conversation together with everyone here. If you see the QR code there, we're doing questions a little bit differently. So you can scan the QR code, you can submit questions, you can submit any feedback, and at the end I'll be kind of collecting them and kind of synthesizing them into questions for the panel as well. Don't worry about scanning it right now. The QR code will be available in just a minute as well, later at the panel as well. Can everybody hear me okay? Good. So yeah, maybe I think the best way to kind of introduce, and also I'm not too much of a big fan of lengthy introductions. I really like to let the work kind of speak for itself, and also letting people tell their stories. But I think a really good way to kind of think about the way that we can kind of start today. Panel, it's the beginning. I think our three panelists here, they have different ways that they started everything. If we can kind of go from there, I think what is the start for you? When do you realize that's you're starting to do what you do? Yeah.
So my name's Dallas. I am a member of the Strange Waves family. Before Strange Waves, I think the first time I had booked anything was a local house show with Motam, Circuit Breaker, and Joel Elliott. It was at my college house, my university house, and I couldn't believe I could just invite artists to come. They would come, kind of mind-blowing to me. And then people would come. I remember I sold, we bought a bunch of Lakeport beers. They were $1 beers at the time. We sold them for $2, and we made $600. We gave each band $200 each, and it was just what the hell? This is way too easy. I didn't realize you could just invite people and open your doors, and then they would come. It was kind of mind-blowing to me. So, and then fast forward a few years, I invited an artist named Marisa Anderson to a house. So something that I wasn't really ready to step into the venue world, I guess. I'd worked in venues, I had spent a lot of time in them, and it was still a little overwhelming to me. So I thought house show vibe is where I was at the time. So invited this woman named Marisa Anderson from Portland, and I couldn't believe I just sent an email to her, and she worked it into her tour and came, and a lot of people enjoyed the show. So it was just, that was really amazing to me. And then a couple years later, I was hanging out with Becky, Laura, some others, and we were talking about the idea of a festival. We had been to Electric Eclectics Festival. Shout out to EE. Has anyone been to EE? Okay, there should be more hands. Everyone should check out EE. It's mind-blowing. It'll change your life.
On this long weekend.
On the Funny Farm. It's an oasis, and this is what kind of blew my mind, that we were the only ones from Hamilton there, because it is a bit of a trek. It's Georgian Bay, so a couple hours away, but just a place where you could go camp, check out freaky shit, and just kind of separate yourself from the city, but with your friends from the city. So we started Strange Waves, and we wanted to do that within 30, 40 minutes of the city. So we did it at Paris Fairgrounds. We did it at Rockton Fairgrounds first. made a lot of enemies. The rural community, we've learned, is not always so welcoming to loud music. What do they? I don't know. They have a hard time when the 11 o'clock, when it turns in from 11 to 11:01. They're just like, we don't want to hear that shit anymore. Turn it off. So we got kicked out of there, and then we went to Paris Fairgrounds. And in between, that was once a year, so we had to figure out what to do in between. And we're in Hamilton, and we'd made some connections with artists and booking agents or whatever. So started doing stuff around the city throughout the calendar year, and that was 10 years ago. So 10 years later, maybe 150 shows. I'm going to rely on Becky's right there. I'm going to rely on her to correct me anytime I speak tonight. So is that about accurate?
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. And of course, I've done it with a ton of help. Like Becky and I have kind of been the duo at the sort of taking the leadership role, but Ken. Where is Ken? Becky, are you tracking his location? He should be here. Anyway, Laura, Sasha, the whole Katz family, and then obviously members of the community, Erica, Lou, et cetera, So, yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, was that a good way to start? I don't know.
Speaking of Erica, you can
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Erica, and I am one half of Suba, which was a club. I don't know if, and some of you have definitely been there. Some of you might not have. It's not open anymore. It was open as a permanent location from 2017 to 2022. We started as a pop-up before that, and I think the way we started, me and my friend Kelly, who is the other half, we're like two moms of Suba. I was like looking for spaces for my other business, which was called the Academy of All Things Awesome, like just places to do cool stuff. I feel like me and my sister Whitney are always just like, ooh, where can we do fun things? And then I saw a place and I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to do like a pop-up bar here. And I said that to Kelly, and she said, that's actually a really good idea. We should do it. And so it was really kind of random, but we found a space at 21 Rebecca, owned by this awesome guy, Cameron. And he had kind of been thinking about maybe turning it into an event space. So we said, okay, well, why don't we rent it for like 6 weeks? We'll throw some parties. You can see how it works, blah, blah, blah. So it was a good collaboration. And we did that. We threw, I think, 6 parties, like every Saturday. There were a couple of Saturdays where we shut things down because, like, you know, people were, I don't know, everything was kind of above board. We had special occasion permits and stuff. But I don't know, people were, like, calling in noise complaints and this, that. So sometimes we shut it down. And so... But basically, we did like 6 of these parties. Oh, the last one ended up at Kelly's house because I think we did something wrong, and Cameron was like, no, it's not going to happen. So anyways, it was kind of an adventure. And then after that happened, we were thinking to find another place to do a pop-up. But as we looked around, and people, like the owners of places, were saying, why don't you just do it? Like, Hamilton could use another place. Like, just do it permanently. You know, you're going to spend all this money doing a pop-up, because Kelly and I both are like, oh, we have to make it like look perfect, get this from Kijiji, blah, blah. So they said, you're doing it anyways, just do it. So we found a great space at Main and Walnut, which is now where And Then You is. Yeah, so we did it. We had an amazing landlord. Like, that was a huge reason we were able to do it, because she was very helpful. She paid for a lot. She was so down for the count. Her name's Belma. She was also a dancer and she ran a ballet studio, so she was very helpful. And yeah, that's how the permanent spot came to be. And it was such a fun chapter. I'm kind of glad now to not have to run a club anymore. It's a lot, but it was really fun. And yes, we had some really amazing Strange Wave shows there. Really amazing. So yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Geneva, and I'm a quarter of Trema, which is like a Hamilton-based local collective and record label. And I also do work in Toronto with a collective called Paradox, which are bigger scale DIY parties. And we started doing parties as Trema about 2.5 years ago. And yeah, we started at And Then You, previously Suba, and that's kind of been our home base for all of our parties. And then for Paradox, I started when they were kind of in between some venues, and we've been doing different ones, but that's a lot more DIY, getting the permits, pop-up parties, as opposed to doing stuff at a club. So kind of do a little bit of both.
And side note, Geneva was a regular at Suba. I think
was.
from the age of
16?
16.
Sorry.
I think, but yeah, no one's getting in trouble today. I feel like that, like those things don't happen as much as anymore, or at least I don't know them. Like I don't know if it's happening or not. There's one thing that I want to kind of ask a little bit more, like starting small, like with the pop-up kind of started, and then booking your first show, like at those moments do you realize like, oh, like I'm kind of working towards something bigger than what I initially imagine it to be, and then ultimately creating sort of like a community for people to kind of participate. How was that process like slowly realizing you're building something, and not just like a party, but like a little niche in itself,
I think for me, it like really just happened by accident. Well, for me and Kelly, and we just found that people liked it, and it was a good time, and we made a bit of money, like not a ton, but we were able to keep it going, like you said, when you realize like, whoa, we could pay the band and we could buy the drinks, like this is amazing. So, and yeah, like I had never dreamt to be a club owner. Like my background, like I went to teachers college and I worked with youth and did curriculum design. So I've always been a dancer and a lover of parties, but that was never my goal in life. But it just, the opportunity presented itself. It was, there was a gap in the market and people seemed to like it. And, obviously Hamilton's such an amazing community with so many people. So to have this space where everyone came together and all these friendships were formed and crushes and connections and people say, oh, I want to DJ, I can do this. Like everyone just pitched in and wanted to help. And, it just kind of rolled out naturally. And that's why we did decide to do the permanent thing, because it's like, why not? Like, people like it. People are down. We know people are going to support us. That was a helpful thing. Like, we already had an audience. People already knew about us. So for anyone who is considering, like, throwing things, it's a good way to start and just test it out before you sign a lease, So, yeah, it was kind of accidental, but so happy that I became an accidental club owner. Really fun.
Yeah, I think for me, DIY has always been, like, a big thing in Hamilton. So I was kind of inspired by decades of that and sort of the lore of Hamilton. Like I've heard of raves happening at Hagler's Flea Market. I don't know if anyone knows anything about that, but that sounds pretty cool. Maybe we could bring that back. But house shows have always been there's always been like, I don't know if there is one right now, but there's usually like a house. It's kind of where the house parties are at. Maybe your studio, I don't know. Would you consider that?
Probably.
Yeah. But because sometimes the overhead is just a little much, and maybe the party is just not suitable for, or maybe the club's booked, whatever it is. Like, just lots of things go into why a DIY spot might be the best. Because Strange Waves doesn't just book like big, flashy parties. We also book a lot of ambient stuff. So there's nothing like being. Like I was at a show last week or a couple weeks ago at the Garrison, and it was this ambient show, and every 5 minutes you'd hear like the crack of a tall boy can, and it just takes you out of it. Like this artist came from Japan, is playing really delicate music, and then all of a sudden, like you hear that. I don't know, just little things like that can really affect an audience. And I think when you can minimize these distractions or make it as comfortable and as accessible as possible to people, then that's good.
And Strange Barn was very magical. Like I'm so glad I lived through that period. Yeah.
What was the question again?
Well, I was we're chatting about like the kind of transition and realization
Oh,
from
yes,
like
yes.
DIY to something bigger, like especially something more like as yourself, like someone who are more in the contemporary, like you're doing things right now, like
Mhm.
are you actively making decisions around like growth, and how do you kind of shape your practice and like to what direction? Because I know that you maybe you can also speak to a bit about like the decision to do things, between two cities.
Mhm.
Like what does that decision kind of look like for you?
A lot of work, very tiring. But the growth for it, since it's like pretty new, we've only been doing parties for 2.5 years. It just kind of started as me and my friend Hudson that's over there. We just both learned how to DJ, liked DJing, went to Suba, and we're like, oh my God, people will come and like see DJs. Why don't we throw something. And the first one was all of our friends, which was really nice. And we were both into techno music, so that's what we were playing. And then it wasn't until after the fact we started going out in Toronto and realized like, oh, people like actually like this stuff, and there's actually a scene, and people like the same exact very niche type of techno that we do. And so we started to kind of curate it more towards that, and bringing in artists from Toronto and Detroit and wherever, and kind of bringing them to Hamilton, kind of in a way that I felt Suba did, just like a connection between the cities, and just showing people new genres and stuff like that. And same with Paradox. Paradox is a lot of bigger artists that we always had local parties, like in between. So we do a locals only event, which was house and techno, and then in between those we do an international artist. And that was the more DIY ones, which was a lot to handle. I didn't do a majority of it. It is a big team now, but just getting everything, all your ducks in a row, doing DIY stuff is a lot of work.
A follow-up question would be like the perception of DIY, you always have to do it yourself, but during those periods, do you have any kind of mentorship? Not like a mentor with the capital M, but like people who are really there at the beginning and like showing you kind of the ropes. And maybe you don't have any, like maybe you just have to do everything by yourself, like really. Is there anybody that comes to your mind? Like,
I think for me, my business partner, Kelly, obviously, it was, I think for a lot of people, it can be overwhelming to think like, oh, how am I going to do this? How are we going to afford this? Whatever. But, you know, Kelly kind of had more of that side of things, and I had maybe more of like the party knowledge, and we came together. So like, you don't necessarily have to have the money to do these things, but you can meet someone that maybe does. And especially in Hamilton, which is a place where everyone is so willing to share resources and introduce you to people. I think that's something important to keep in mind. So not necessarily, well, maybe it's a mentor, business partner, friend, whatever, but, you know, just don't be overwhelmed to think like, oh, I can't do this. There's so much. Like, you can find people that have what you don't, maybe.
Yeah, for me, booking artists that have a booking agent, I found that really kind of difficult to navigate at first, because booking agents can be very kind of pushy, and I wasn't sure even how to approach them, but Ken and Lou Molinaro and Jeremy Greenspan, they kind of pointed me in the right direction in terms of like presenting an offer and all the details that need to be included in that. Really just communication, so helping with that. Jeremy also helped a lot with tech stuff. He loaned us his sweet PA that lived at our house for a long time, and was really nice. So things like that were like, and then lots of folks helping with different aspects of the festival. Like the festival was big, all hands on deck type situation. Took a lot out of all of us. It was a bit of those guys were definitely huge mentors for us. And then we were all kind of learning as we went in terms of booking artists from around the world and bringing them to like rural Ontario. It was kind of wild.
Mentors for me, I feel like it's just kind of the community around me, the people in the scene that have been doing it for longer than me, that are open to sharing what they've done to get to the point where they are, and just people that are inspiring, like Erica, seeing how she ran her things, who she booked, how she went about it. Just as like an outside perspective, like that also gave me just a lot of knowledge, just going to other parties, seeing what they're doing and taking inspiration from that, and then just also just communicating with the people around.
if we can talk a bit about like booking, like maybe your first booking. Like I know Dallas, you spoke briefly about your first booking. Like, what about a recent booking? Because like the border situation, like that's another story in itself. But then like how do you start with booking? Like, and if it's like a personal choice, like booking for the love of it, or booking it because you know that there's like a audience for it, and also there will be like a return to it, or yeah.
So booking for me, The first booking we did that was like a lot bigger. We brought Max Watts and Sugar from Detroit. They're from Limited Network. And we actually got the booking because a friend of ours was hosting them in Toronto and was telling us about it before they announced. They're called Art Show Near Me. They have a really good party there. But I had messaged and being like, do you think that these guys would be down to play on like a Tuesday? Because bookings were really intimidating for me because I didn't know where to start, where the money was going to come from, stuff like that. But these guys that we booked were like closer in age to me, seemed a little bit more relaxed, but I still had to email their agent, which was really scary. Looking up examples and like asking people for examples of their bookings helped a lot. But yeah, that was a really fun party. It was very successful and they had a great time, and I learned about hospitality and riders and stuff like that. There's a lot that goes into it. Who's gonna pick them up from where are we gonna take them to dinner? But yeah, and then there's been some troubles. Our last booking was again from Detroit. His name's Huey Mnemonic. We were supposed to have him in March, but the border didn't let him through. And we didn't find out until day of, about 12 hours before the party. So that was a lot of scrambling, but thankfully we had asked Max and Sugar, who was our first booking, if they knew of anyone that would be down, and we got Miguel Cisne. So it all worked out in the end, but there are a lot of travel issues if you're bringing people from outside of Canada or even outside of the city. It's a little bit stressful to navigate.
We once had a band from Miami, Psychic Mirrors. I don't know if there's any Psychic Mirrors fans in the house. They're a really good modern funk band. Check them out. They're sick. So they were coming through. The show had started, and we got a call that they had been turned away from the border. They rented a van, some van renting company, and the border guard found a pipe or some sort of paraphernalia in the back. So they said no. So like what the heck? Like Luke Peters and I were DJing, and Ken was like, "What are we gonna do?" And then Lou said, "Well, they tried at Niagara Falls or something." He said, "Try Lewiston." So they went to Lewiston, they got through, party happened, they were amazing. Try a different border, I don't know.
We did the Sarnia one after that.
I think for booking, we kind of just started with our friends. Like Kelly, she used to work, I think, in the music industry or television in Toronto, so she knew some people that were DJs. Some of my friends were DJs. You know, that's a pretty good way to start. They're cheap. They'll do it heavy. They're fun. And then I find if you like are throwing a good party, people end up coming saying, "Oh, can we DJ?" So, you know, like I remember with Suba with the pop-up when Jesse Lanza and Christina Seeley contacted and were like, "Can we DJ?" I was like, "Oh my God, yes." So we ended up adding an extra night, which actually kind of messed us up, which is why we had to have the last party at Kelly's house, but it all worked out. And then again, like, yeah, booking locals is great, you know? It's like people will come to you, say, "Oh, I want to play," and then they bring all their friends. You kind of get a night going with them. And then that allows you, maybe you've made some money from that. You can spend money on a larger booking. And I think, yeah, once you maybe do a couple bigger bookings, then again, agents start contacting you because they're like, "Ooh, there's a new place. Like, we can put them in with Montreal, Toronto, New York." Like, they want it, you know? So that's another thing. See who's playing in the cities that are within driving distance or even a cheap flight, because they'll always do it for cheaper if they're already booked and they can just do a little extra date. We found we really took advantage of that with people that were in Montreal, Toronto. I think you might have taught me that trick. And yeah, also flight shares. We ended up doing flight shares with a couple, like some clubs in Toronto, Montreal. So like there's ways to do it on the cheap, and like, you know, the artists and the agents, they want to make more money too. So even if it's not as much as they would make at the bigger club, they'll come. So.
Yeah, Canada is historically like kind of a nightmare for touring because it's such a long distances between cities, but Hamilton's kind of in this amazing sweet spot, which is really nice. So artists coming from Buffalo, Detroit, Toronto, it's like right there. So we can scoop them up and it's really nice. And the artists love it because it's a quick drive, so.
Are there any bookings that were originally a no, but then turned into a yes? Or like, were there any kind of like dream bookings that never happened?
ESG,
But who did you
but,
get instead?
So we had ESG booked for Strange Ways 4. It would have been amazing, but we were able to pivot somehow and book Sun Ra Orchestra, which was, I don't know how the hell that happened. So there's 12 of them coming in from New Jersey and New York. So, wow. Yeah. So I can't believe it.
Yeah, there's like a photo later, so we can show
Yeah.
the glory of it all. Should we move on to like the show and tell session?
Sure.
So we have a little session. We've asked each of the panelists to give us some photos and do a little bit of like a kind of messy going through all of the photos and maybe tell a bit of a story about some of them. Spend a little bit of a time, like calling out, like highlighting some of the places on the people that are, currently in the audience seat, and also some venues that are no longer there as well. So yeah.
Should I stand up
Yeah.
maybe? I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Okay. Will this reach?
Yeah.
We need a laser pointer.
Okay.
You can get up close and personal.
So top left there, that was our house, Strange Barn, over on McNabb Street, and I just wanted to show how, because we had gone to so many house shows over the years, and house shows are amazing for the vibe, for the intimacy, but not always for the sound quality, or just like, I don't know. But we were able to sort of turn our house into a club sometimes. We had some amazing parties there. So I wanted to showcase what it was like to be there. The barn was a magical place, crazy, stinky environment that Becky, Terrace, several other of us lived for a few years and lived and played and had a great time. Right below it is in front of the barn, so that's me, Becky, and Ken, getting cozy. Right next to that is an egg toss. I don't know if you've all experienced an egg toss, but something I really appreciated that the Cats has brought to our events was the sense of play into our parties. So it wasn't all serious. It was really like a family environment where you could get egg yolk on your hands and then go watch a sick musical act. Thank you. Then we got Daphne at ACA, which was a really killer party. Jeremy in the back, probably talking about what pizza he wants to order afterwards. But yeah, without Jeremy, parties like that would never have happened. He has some really cool friends. One time, Fortet played at our house, which was pretty wild. Thank you, Jeremy.
Dallas, can I ask, do you think ACA is still like a potential venue for other people that might want to throw a party?
So
'Cause
yeah,
it was pretty nice.
I think so. Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time. They didn't realize we ran our own bar that night. Like the next day, they're like, wait, you ran your own bar and sold booze and. Yeah, so they were fine with it, but it was a little, yeah.
Yeah, it's down on Barton Street, Afro-Caribbean Association.
Canadian Caribbean, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go to the next one. Sorry. Yeah. This is a big storm at the last Strange Waves that crushed us, crushed the festival. Those tents were no longer standing. This was kind of just before the storm. It's the best photo I found of it, but Mary Margaret O'Hara was performing somewhere over the rainbow as this crazy storm came in, and
What happened after, like during the storm even?
so people, we were all kind of freaking out a bit, trying to take care of the gear, and it's one thing that I really have learned over the years is you can curate as much as you want or like plan for as much as you want, but things just come up and you got to kind of roll with it, and the party must go on. I think so. We ended up going in one of the barns, and Wolf Eyes played in there, which was sick. So, but it was a little scary at the time. There's the Space Boob, all lit up with eucalyptus playing inside, I believe. Space Boob at Bayfront Park, of course. We had some great times there. I'm sure everyone has. It's a great spot.
Can you talk a bit about like getting not approval, but like what does the process look like briefly?
For Bayfront Park? Or?
Yeah.
So we had a bit of funding through the City Enrichment Fund for those events, and we went through the process of booking the park through SEAT, which they recently changed it a little bit. You still got to go through their portal. It's kind of a challenge, but it's the fee's not that bad really. It's a few $100. We also did it at Gage Park, and we only used a little corner of Gage Park, but we could have used the entire thing. Like, we could have been in the band shell for $300, which is pretty wild. But I've also learned that the power at the band shell is always on. So if you want to just throw a party there, that's an easier way to go. Last summer we kind of did that at Bayfront. We got 200 feet of extension cord, found an outlet that worked, and parking exit DJ till 3, and it was no problem. So another hot tip. That's the Blue Grotto. I don't know if you guys have been up there, but it's pretty kind of a fun spot above Capri. Doom Squad's playing there. It was a really good party. People were dancing. I remember at one point I went downstairs to the restaurant below, just kind of feeling out the owner. He and his son were sitting at one of the tables, kind of with their arms crossed, a little grumpy, and people were jumping up and down, and dust from the ceiling was landing on their table, and the guy just looked at me like, never again. Never again. So that was the last party we did at the Blue Grotto.
What happened to the space now? Like,
It's still there. It's preserved. It looks like 1964 in there, I guess. I don't know. Becky and Matt were there recently. Yeah. The deal back then, I don't know if they still have it, but as long as the bar did $1,000, there was no fee. There is Inga Copeland, now Lolina, playing at our house. So we had these events that were just kind of like, I can't believe this person is coming to Hamilton and performing. And she has since fallen in love with Hamilton. Like, she vacations here, which is pretty amazing for such a world-class artist. But it kind of speaks to what Hamilton is. Like, she does not really care for Toronto too much, which Hamilton just is full of these amazing people, and she goes all over the world, but she speaks so highly of Hamilton because of like the people in this room, the people that come to events, because it's just full of freaks that are so special and completely themselves and very welcoming. So I think that's something that we have that's very special here, and we should be proud of. There might only be 30 people at the event, but there'll be 30 great people. There we got beautiful Matt Hill, who was at one of the festivals, and he created this cozy little zone, and that's kind of what we imagined the festival being, just sort of, I don't know, this oasis for a weekend where you could be yourself and forget your worries and be around the people you love. So yeah. There's Marshall Allen eating a tally, which was pretty amazing. 94-year-old Marshall Allen. I think right before that he drank some whiskey and smoked a cigarette, and he's turning 101 next month. So pretty amazing. Woo! And it just to speak about like stuff like that, like you're just like, this legend is just right there, and all we did was say like, can you please come? And they came, and it's pretty amazing. There's Pelada. They're another act that sort of a lot of folks maybe didn't know about before we invited them, and then the city kind of develops a relationship with them, and then they come back, and I like that. I like when these bonds are created between Hamilton and artists, and then it lasts. I think that's a special thing. And then along the bottom, I just have a bunch of strange family photos. These are all coordinated by Becky. Generally, at the end of any event, she'll get whoever she can together to take a lovely family photo. And it's a nice special way to remember, because often you don't end up taking too many pics during the event. But it's kind of like a nice debrief or a sigh of like, holy shit, that was a beautiful night. And then you look back at it. So, yeah. And R.I.P. the St. Hollywood.
We're doing a lot of shows at that venue.
At the St. Hollywood?
Yeah.
They were just so welcoming, and it was such a good example of how to, I don't know, it definitely, I'm sure it wasn't sustainable financially, but they were just, yeah, they would treat us so well. We understand, like, and they would pay, like Lou would pay his sound tech. We didn't have to pay for anything. We were just taken care of, and it was a beautiful thing. So, and then we got Suba here with Marie Davidson, Bernardino Feminielli, Rich Oddie. thank you, Erica, also for being an amazing host to us anytime we were there.
You're welcome.
And then there's Sunrise Orchestra at the fest.
What was the perception like when you guys announced it? Like, did the festival get a lot of traction because of like such a big booking? Or
Yeah, I would say for sure. I mean, people were in disbelief. I would say. Yeah. I mean, they were coming to Paris, Ontario.
what's the hardest booking that like ever happened? Like,
Well, it was only hard in the logistics, like getting flying 12 people in, 12 artists in, and then picking them all up, putting them up in, nice enough places to stay. But in terms of it happening, it was just like some emails. Like they were on board. They want to play shows. They tour a lot, and yeah, they have an amazing energy behind them, and there's nothing like it.
Can I ask, did they say anything like, whoa, this place is so strange and cool and we love it?
Yeah. I mean, they enjoyed it for sure. Yeah, they enjoyed. I remember they enjoyed the weed. They really liked the weed. Was easy to get, and there was plenty of it.
thanks, Alice. That was beautiful. Yeah.
Sorry if that was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of the bottom right photo with Suba, I think naturally kind of connects with Erica. Maybe Erica chosen these photos to highlight a little bit. Maybe Erica, would you do the honors? Like,
Yeah, and don't worry about zooming because it's just kind of
okay,
examples.
sounds good.
So yeah, I chose for my show and tell to talk about the life motto that I found on a dollar store magnet, which is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. And I thought, oh my God, it's so true. And I bought the magnet. It was always in the back of Suba behind the bar. And I feel like it kind of just sums up, like, if you're throwing a party, that is what makes the difference. Like, yes, booking is important, but I found with Suba, because we just, the vibe was good. Like, people didn't even necessarily know or care who they were going to see. They just liked coming to Suba, So we had detail, like, in our promo, like the top corner shows our monthly calendars that my friend Lane from Smokestack designed every month. There's one kind of on the shrine that he actually screen printed for us, which was amazing. He would do that from time to time. The Happy Sioux year there was that was a party we did in a bank before we were officially open, but just kind of let people know we were coming. It was a New Year's party, very epic. And we did a cool video invite for that. The Tonight image we would always do on the night of the party, and we would kind of try and make it go with the vibe, so people would kind of have a little bit of a representation what the vibe's going to be just from the visuals. Some examples of different posters. I think it's really important to think of details in the space itself. For us, we had our signature scent, our match boxes, which actually we have so many match boxes left over. So at the front door, please take some Suba match boxes. We need to get rid of them. We always had our beautiful fresh flowers that our neighbor from Thuya Florals made, the lighting, the fans. I put the one of the chandelier there because it shows even in our pop-up space, we only had it for 6 weeks, but Kelly still found this amazing chandelier on Kijiji, and we bought furniture, and just, we went that little extra to just try and make it special. And yes, we had to get the ladder and do that and put it up and take it down, but it had such an impact, and it just made the space so special. So it's worth doing those extra things. The art, and I think especially it's important to go the little extra when it comes to hosting and hospitality. That's the number one main thing with your artists, with your staff, with your clients. Names is a huge thing. Number one tip I could give you if you're throwing parties, learn people's names. They say if you say it 7 times, you'll remember it. But people get so happy when you remember their name. It really makes an impact in something so small. But that would be an example. Or up on the top there, Johnny, our cleaner. He was such an important part of our community, and we would always have him in. He would start his night, have his couple Jack and Cokes on the house, and just being nice and welcoming, and stuff like that just goes so far. I have a little picture of some of the artists beforehand, the snacks in the green room we always had, and of course the staff, that's huge. And you want staff and people in your party that kind of have the same attention to detail that you do. But yeah, that's just, I would say, like a kind of theme that I would want to share, and I think Suba did a good job at. And no matter if you have a permanent spot, you're doing a one night, whatever, like the little extra is always worth it.
Erica, you changed the city. Like pre Suba, there was no DJ culture in the city. Like there wasn't. Like there were amazing DJs from the city.
It had been in the past.
But yeah, but there was this period where that wasn't happening really. So like with obviously there were amazing musicians, electronic musicians from Hamilton, Orfix, Junior Boys, Jesse, on and on, Huron, and but yeah, Suba, thank you so much for what you brought to the city.
You're welcome. Thank you all for coming.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Like, you talk about the hospitality spirit. Like, is there something that you learned from maybe your family or your other parts of your life? Like, I'm curious to like hear a little bit more about that, maybe.
I don't know, to be honest, my parents like never hosted, had parties. Like they're pretty square, you know, so I don't think I got it from them. Maybe just my own like experience going out. Maybe I'm like in terms of space and stuff, there was one place in Montreal called Salon Daume that, you know, that's where I learned about fans on the dance floor and how life-changing that is. They always had good lighting. But in terms of the hospitality, I don't know, I think maybe that's just me. And then you also see if you're friendly, like I do feel when I first started, I was a little more like uptight, and if people were late or anything goes wrong, I was like really upset. But then as I got more experience and okay, these things happen, and loosened up, and then could just be like more friendly and chill about things, then people respond, right? But yeah, I think it was just because, you know, it's fun getting to know people. Like that's the fun part about being a party thrower, right? That you get like the socialization comes to you. So, and it's just better if you're nice and friendly and all that stuff.
Another follow-up question, maybe, because I know, like, obviously COVID happened. Like, I think that also marks like a chapter for Suba. Do you like, what do you remember from that kind of period? Like, especially after the period, like, remembering a lot of COVID DJs, like they come out of the pandemic becoming DJs, and also getting more interested in DJ culture, the resurgence of, you know, Boiler Room being a big part of like what we now can think of as DJ culture. Like, I feel like I have such like a nostalgic relationship with Suba. Like even just being there for a few times, like I feel like going there before the pandemic and like going there after, like it's like the people feel very different nowadays. I feel like.
Well, we kind of closed not too long after, you know, COVID period ended, like, and it was almost going back to real life. Well, we kind of changed our model. Like we did the Suba Clubhouse. I don't know if any of you remember that. That's how Gabe and Paulo kind of came to be involved. And when I decided I didn't want to do it anymore, I was like, hey, any members want to take this over? And they said, we will. But so I don't think I can speak too much to it. I don't know if you guys have more opinions about the posts, but for me, it just kind of made me be like, oh wait, things are starting back up again. I think I need to get off this train, you know? Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Erica. Maybe we can do Geneva finally, maybe? Yeah?
I think I put too many photos.
Yeah.
But I'll quickly go through it. For majority of them, I have a lot of photos from before and after parties, as opposed to lots of photos during. I mean, I do have some, but in the top, we have Trema. They went away. There they are. There's me and Monty and Tyler and Hudson. So we're the guys behind it. Right there underneath is a CDJ from when we threw a party, and the CDJ broke mid-party. And it was saying there was a chip error, so we brought it it was at Cowabunga, actually. We like cleared out all of the tables, and we brought in PAs. We rented a bunch of stuff. But those are my CDJs. And I was saying it had chip error, so our bright idea was to bring the CDJ into the back while we put on a DJ Assault mix on one of the CDJs and clean it with alcohol. And it actually did work. for the rest of the night, but then there was other issues with like the link device, and pretty much the chip error was just like there were so many things wrong with the CDJ that I was just saying that. But yeah, there are some things that will break or things will not go to plan when you're throwing a party, and sometimes it's in the middle of it too.
I remember you texted me saying like, "Can you bring your deck?"
Yes, Jeff had to bring his decks just in case. We didn't end up using it, but thank God he had. Some other photos beside are like setting up or like the beginning of parties. So that one was for Paradox. We brought Wata Igarashi from Japan. And it's hard to see, but like the whole ceiling of the venue is covered in parachutes, which was an idea we got from Interdimensional Transmissions in Detroit, which is a really, really cool collective and label that does really, really insanely good parties. Beside that is my studio above Farside in Monday Press. That was last month. That was just our little booth. It's covered in stuff, but it was mid-setup with the sun shining, and it's just such a beautiful space. And we really like to, when we throw things there, we like to kind of play off the fact that it is like an apartment turned into studios. So we make it kind of feel like a house party, but with a door charge, and you have to pay for your beer. Beside that is my parents at and then you at my very first gig, me and Hudson's first Techno Tuesday from October 2022. They have since left and moved to the States, but I'm sure I would be dragging them out if they still lived here. But they enjoyed many, many cocktails, and they had a great time. That's my cat. That's Gong. And before we would do any parties where we had to rent stuff, the gear has to go somewhere, and usually it's my living room. And he enjoys it. I don't know if Long and McQuaid does, though. Below that is more just setting up. A lot of our decor we got is just like kind of friends garbage or stuff we got with a $20 gift card to Canadian Tire from Tyler. Beside all the netting, same deal. We like to, I guess, just use a lot of stuff from construction. That was when we had Chris and the Lady Machine last summer. My friend, the teardown for that was actually horrible. It was a lot of zip ties and rolling up all of that netting, but it looked really, really sick. And it was a labor of love.
Can I jump in that that's a good tip, too, to factor in your takedown? Because it's just like, oh, the party's done. And then you're like, no, actually, we still have like 2 days of work to do. So make sure you have people on the other end as well.
Yes, try and make it as easy as possible. For us, all of this fit into like 3 Rubbermaid bins. So yeah, just kind of, as you use your like decor and stuff more, you'll learn how like the fastest way to store it and put it up and take it down and how many zip ties you need. Down there, those are my friends Salty and Reuven DJing. A big thing I really like about throwing parties with my friends is the like outside of the party, hanging out. So every year we do a cottage trip, and it's very curated. We have a spreadsheet with the meals we're gonna eat, what we're gonna do at what time, and whose set time is when, because we're all DJs. But it's just a nice little getaway to just kind of like connect as friends outside of a loud party space. And below that, we have Max Watts playing at In Venue. He was our first big booking with Sugar behind him. He's so killer. He is insane, and he's a lovely, lovely man. So, and Sugar is really great too. But that was like a big moment for us where we were like, oh, like people like playing our parties, and people want to come see DJs that they don't necessarily know, or just DJs that aren't local. So it was really cool to kind of make that next step from just being a local party, and I love having local DJs, but it was really cool to kind of move on to doing something a little bit bigger. This is the Cowabunga party where the CDJ broke.
Can you talk a bit about like that space? Like, it's like 2 blocks down, but like,
Yes.
if you're doing a party at a new space that hasn't been used as a party, like how do you know if it's gonna work? Like how do you kind of strategize around that?
Yeah, so nothing really happened at Cowabunga before we started using the space. Monty at the time worked there, so that was kind of our in. But the setup of the restaurant itself was already like kind of perfect. It had a bar at the back, a kind of little stage area, and then just like big open space. One thing we had to kind of figure out that was a little bit tricky was when they were going to stop like seating people and serving people and when we could start setting up, because there was like an hour where we're just like taking chairs away and loading in gear and there's people trying to enjoy their meal. But it worked out really well. I wish we had better sound for them, but everyone had a great time and they made a little bit of extra cash, so we did a few of them and it was really fun. Beside that is our Paradox crew from last year. After every party, we always take a group photo, and there's Wata at the bottom. Yeah, it's just nice documentation because we have like a no photo video policy at our parties. So just to kind of have that in our archives, it's nice to look back on and see who helped with what that party. And then up we have me and Hudson over the other side. You can see
This side?
Hudson. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's a party at And Then You. That was a Techno Tuesday. Yeah, love going back to back with Hudson.
Yeah.
He's
How do you
great.
feel about no photography policy?
This is a different party. I don't mind, like, personally, like, professional photographers if they're not using flash all the time. I love when nobody has their phone out on the dance floor, though. I also don't like a phone in my face. So I think that if you could keep it in your pocket or use your phone off of the dance floor, that's incredible. And if you are going to take a video, make sure your flash isn't on and make sure it's not capturing anyone that might not want to be captured.
Do you make that like at which one of your parties, like that's your policy though? Like no photo
At
videos?
Paradox. So
Cool.
we put stickers over people's cameras, and most people are really good about it. If we do see somebody take it off and try and take a video, we just go up to them. Most of the time, everyone's fine with it.
And do you find it makes the party better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Seems a lot more like everyone's immersed in it. Like everyone that's on the dance floor isn't even like looking around, you know, like everyone's there for the same reason. And there's no worries of what's going on outside, what's going on at this party. You're there to enjoy the music, and most people want to do that. So it's a really cool thing. There's more setup that was on the second story of Cafeteria in Toronto, and there was no sound system up there, and there was no elevator. So our sound team had to bring up a lot of stuff. But yeah, the load-in for that party takes like close to 2 days. Tear down usually about a day. But yeah, those are definitely things you need to factor in if you're going the DIY route. Even just like small things like the Cowabunga party, we only really had like 2 hours, so we couldn't really do any like decor. But even smaller things like at our studio, which is not very big, that's still like a day of work of setting everything up. And then we have underneath that me and my friend Anise. We give out fruit at 2 a.m. to everyone on the dance floor, which I think is a nice touch. Everyone gets excited for it, and it's refreshing. The only thing we have to worry about is watermelon rinds. So now we carry around a trash bag too. And then the last photo is Miguel Cisne from our last party at And Then You. He is so awesome, and he showed up with like 9 hours notice and played a great set, and then left. We gave him a Hamilton brick. So I found a stack of them in my backyard. But yeah, it was great. He adapted really well. We adapted really well. And I'm really happy that we could still make a party happen, even if the border didn't want us to.
I think that's it. Thank you. The way that we kind of like order it this way to show like a brief kind of timeline, I think there's some connections there. Is there anything that kind of jumps out from like just looking at other people photos that like kind of reminds you of something? Like,
Bring back Strange Waves.
Please.
I'm just blown away by Geneva's 23 and she's doing all this shit. Like, this is amazing. She is a boss. Like, it's wild.
Thank you.
And you're doing it with integrity and like such great taste and spirit. It's, I don't know, that's really cool. You're talking about like where we're at coming out of COVID. Like, I think we're in good hands with someone like Geneva. So.
Thank you. My back already hurts.
is there anything that you crave for the city? Like, are there things you want to see happen in the city that hasn't happened yet? Like, for example, going back to like the no photography rule. Like, I don't think it's been like so actively kind of like within Hamilton or in like going out culture. Like, how do you kind of like what do you want to see? Like, whether it's like soft rules or something like a little more like bigger things happen in general.
I think that soft rules would be a start. I mean, with Paradox, it is a little bit intimidating. Like, you go up, we have the same security team that are like very adamant about you reading a list of rules. And if you can't read, she will spell it out for you, which is basically just no sexism, homophobia, anything. If you're uncomfortable by queerness, it's not this place for you. No photo video policy, no phones on the dance floor. Respect the space, respect the people in it. But I think that a lot of those in like spaces like in Venue and like parties like Places in Suba and Strange Waves, a lot of that is already like kind of an unspoken rule. Like, I'd never been to Suba and thought that I would feel uncomfortable. Everyone already respected the space and stuff. So I think continuing that and what you're doing, I saw in your caption for the party tonight, just with use the dance floor to dance. And rules like that, like very
No parking
soft,
on the dance floor.
yeah, gentle reminders could be needed because sometimes I love to yap, but sometimes yapping on the dance floor can take the experience away from somebody else.
It's also like space venue depending. Like, if it's like a small space, like people should be a bit more mindful of how they operate and like, you know, it's a shared space. Like, like try not to take up so much space by yourself. Like, yeah, thank you for the great stories. I love hearing them. Maybe we can go to the final section for today, maybe, and we'll leave some time for questions, maybe. So we're gonna talk a bit about booking, making things happen. I have a note, something about like club spaces and going out. Like, maybe just kind of get it out for the discussion's sake. Consumption. I feel like in recent years, like consumption and like people like consuming too much. Like, is that like, do you see any kind of changes like how people go out and have fun? And maybe this pertains to more like the club space, but also like people not drink as much anymore, and like they don't want to go out too much anymore. How do you kind of counteract that, maybe?
I feel like a lot of people my age and even younger, I feel like this generation has kind of become less dependent on alcohol and like using substances and stuff like that. So like less of the consumption of that means that's kind of like one less reason why people would want to go out. So I think that it puts the music and the artist at like the very front. So just kind of pushing that and making people want to go out so that they can dance and listen to the music as opposed to wanting to go out to drink, because there's a lot less of that. People just being like, I just want to go to the bar, have a few drinks, or I want to go to the club and drink. I'm seeing a lot more of people wanting to go to specific events to see specific people or go to specific events because they like the way they're run. So just kind of curating it as best as possible to get people out.
Yeah, I think along with that, a lot of revenue for venues used to come in through the bar. So obviously that is dipping. But in Hamilton, I'm not sure if like the expectation of cover is sort of making up for that. So it makes it a little difficult because you also don't want to create financial barriers for people. Like, there should always be an opportunity for anyone who doesn't have the funds to be able to come to a party, I think. But maybe those who can spend a bit more can pay a bit more. I don't know. I was thinking today about like 541, how they have the button program for people for coffee. Like maybe if there's a button program for cover, like if you can buy someone's cover, maybe then someone else could come and just grab a button. So it doesn't have to be a big deal where someone has to ask the door person, hey, I don't have enough money. It's very subtle. Yeah, just something. Yeah, to get, because we want bodies in the room. We want people having a good time, and a lot of times those who might not have the funds would be the best people you want in the room. Like,
Yeah, I think that's one thing I learned from you guys at Strange Wave. Not a fluff.
yeah.
No one turned away for lack of funds. And I always really liked that you guys did that, and I adopted that as well as a result.
Yeah, keeping costs low or entry low is like super important. So I feel like for you guys too, it's pretty much just like need to break even or maybe close to, just keep the entry fee as low as possible.
It's tricky though, because you want to pay everyone appropriately,
Yeah.
artists, sound techs, door person, like safety crew, whoever happens to be working the event. So that balance is something that needs to be considered.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but I think you kind of do have to know, like, I don't know, unless you know something we don't, like, you're not throwing parties to make money. Like, you're not really going to make money. You'll break even, maybe have a really good night. Like, I don't know. It's just, you got to do it for the love of it. And if you're thinking, like, oh, this is the perfect moneymaker, no. Especially now with, like, people drinking less and all the, like, flights are going up. DJs booking fees are crazy, you know? Like, so, yeah, just keep that in mind. It is not a moneymaker.
Dallas, you had like one of the events are partially funded by the City Enrichment Fund. Like, can you talk to me about like that's potentially another kind of source of funding? Like, does that change how you book people or how you kind of make that event happen? Like, you know.
Yeah, we've been lucky to get a little bit of funding from the city. We also had the placemaking, is that what it's called? Placemaking grant
Placemaking
from
grant,
last
yeah.
year to do the events at Ferguson Station, and that's a dream to not have to worry about cover and to do something outside where folks can come, be in an open air space, physically accessible. That really just changes the approach. I mean, it makes it something that anyone can go to, and knocks down not all the barriers, but at least a lot of them for people. So it's beautiful. Although the granting world is a whole other ball game that can be very difficult to navigate, and we found we poured a lot of time and effort into OAC grants, and we're never successful. And some of the bigger grants too, like they really want to see that you're making money from other sources. So they don't want to be obviously the major funding source. They don't want to give you all your money. So yeah, I don't know. We weren't the best at that, but it helps for sure.
Another follow-up question, like, because like Erica, you were saying everything's kind of going up. Like, is there maybe my prediction is like to start booking more local, like celebrating my local, like the local economy, like local people more. It's like putting them at the forefront, like maybe letting them headline instead of letting the international, like the booking as a headliner. Like the way that it's like a smaller city, we get to be a little bit more agile in terms of how we kind of operate, and also the way that we can kind of hack things in a way that other bigger cities cannot do. I think Hamilton, like you said, like it's in a very unique and very interesting kind of role, and we can fit into like a model that doesn't really subscribe to any kind of funded or any kind of big kind of conglomerate, so to speak.
Especially with places, because you're making this amazing community of DJs and teaching folks and bringing people into your world, which is really great. Because when I go to other cities, they'll ask me what Hamilton's like now. I was like, we have DJs now. We have amazing DJs, and they're all in their 20s. Like they're young folks who are just like really, really sweet, and there keeps being more of them, and it's a really awesome thing. So thank you.
Thank you, places.
There will never be too many DJs, I think, because like if you love music, you should learn how to do it. It's like cooking. I feel like you're just mixing things together. Like it's a nice thing to do anyway. Like it doesn't matter like if you're on a stage or not. Like if you're making a playlist, you're kind of like a DJ. You kind of know the things that you're kind of playing. If anyone want to kind of join there will be a workshop tomorrow exactly from 12 to 3 here for intro to any kind of person want to get into DJing, and also more importantly how to source your music not from streaming. So that's another way to kind of thank you for the sneaky little thank you for that. Maybe going back to like the direction we were going a little bit, maybe we can talk about like when booking doesn't work out the way that you want it. Like has that ever happened? Like yeah, and like what are the things you can kind of learn from that maybe?
I've learned that you don't always have to give people exactly what's on their rider. I've learned you should never give DJ a bottle of booze, serve them individual drinks. You can even say to the agent, like, that's our policy for safety, you know, whatever. It's a real mess. Like, we had Mall Grab. That was kind of like our first big booking. And it was an absolute train wreck. I think it was like his 23rd birthday. His rider had a bottle of gin and this and that. So we put it there. And then he brought all his friends, like these DJ girls from Toronto, and they were all over. And like everyone just got wasted. It was so sloppy. His one friend got up on the decks and started DJing. Like it was so bad. And I was like a little more green then. So I was like, oh my God, what's going on? But like from then on, I learned just do not give them a bottle.
We've definitely had events where we're severely like underattended. I don't know if that would fit into this category, but the sort of that anxiety, like the door opens and you're looking, is that another person? No, it's just someone that went for a smoke. Okay, so that can be kind of freaky and like, but at the end you kind of have to just let that go and understand that people have a lot of things going on in their lives, and it's a privilege to throw events. It's a privilege to have people invest their time in your event because there's lots of things they can be doing, lots of things that can pull them away. So
I learned make sure your DJ crosses the border at least 2 days before, so you don't have to scramble day of. Also, I learned through that they are allowed to say that they're playing, unless you're giving them over $10,000, which I don't know if any of us could. There is a way to like get artists across the border, so you can, as a Canadian artist, can play in the States, and a American artist can play in Canada. If they're making less than $10,000 while they're here, they can also sell merch up to $10,000. So you don't have to worry about that thing unless they just say he can't cross for no reason.
we usually provide an American artist with a like a letter of invitation that sort of demonstrates like what the event is, to give some context, because you know the border guard they don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah,
Better than just I'm gonna give you Canadian cash and there's gonna be no invoice. And
Geneva, you are a programmer, but also you're also playing sometimes. Like, do you find there's like double the pressure to like do both at the same time, like certain nights, or?
Sometimes I kind of don't have as much anxiety playing for my own parties now. It's especially most of the time I do them with Hudson, so having that back-to-back partner makes it a little bit easier, and we can get we usually open, so we're able to get anything last minute needed done, where it's just like, I'll be like, oh, can you play for 20 minutes, and I am gonna hop over and do this, and vice versa. But in the beginning, it was a little bit stressful. I was worried about everyone and everything, and then I'm like, oh, now I also have to play this set, and my USB's at home, and I'm over here, and just a little bit of added stress, but I've kind of sorted it all out now.
Maybe a question, can I get a quick raise of hands, like folks who are kind of bookers or people who are in like a programming kind of role? Can I get a quick, however you want to interpret that, like if you're a programmer or kind of in charge of a lineup person, or people who are interested in doing that kind of work in their life. Yeah, we got quite a few hands, but the reason we're kind of like having this conversation is like I think everyone should become an organizer. Like we're not just focused for organizers, right? Like whether you're doing political work or social work or in the creative field, like I think by way of hearing this conversation, like you get to hear how you can connect the dots and kind of hack the system a little bit, like whether that's a friend of a friend or a friend of a friend of a friend, like try to make those connections happen and put in the extra effort to make it nicer, and I think good things will kind of come about. Can you talk more about, maybe there's a question for the panel, like do you have any tips for someone starting their first booking? Where should they start? Is it from what I like, or is it something that, like I know that it will work? How do you kind of balance that?
I think it's got to be something that you really love and are passionate about, and something maybe you're not seeing represented in the community. So if you're excited about it, then you'll probably put a lot of energy into it. It's kind of I think it's a bit of a red flag if maybe the promoter isn't even in the room, maybe like an absentee promoter, like an absentee landlord in Hamilton is a bit of an issue. But if you see the promoter like having a great time, then I think that's indicative of their passion. And Erica's woo-woos, like if you hear that, you're at the right party.
I think practically speaking, like a good thing you can do is, if there's a festival you like, especially one that's nearby that you wouldn't necessarily, like that would have a lot of local artists, look at all the people with the tiny print and just listen to them all. And like that was a way that I would sometimes find, like Dallas really taught me you have to get people when they're on the come up. That's the way they're the most affordable. And then I don't know how many artists like you had before anyone knew them, and then became like quite large artists that we couldn't afford anymore. But so that's a kind of practical thing, like look at those tiny names and just listen to everyone. And also having people whose tastes you trust to kind of like feed you names. Like for instance, Dallas or Ken, the guys at Collective Rhythm Network, Jeff and MA, they brought in so many amazing DJs from Detroit that like I had never heard of, but legends, and they would say, oh, there's this new person, book them. So like I just always trusted their taste, and that's a really helpful way to like expand your knowledge of who you could even book.
I agree. Yeah, just trust your friends with good taste that have a broad sense of music and kind of would know what you like, and broaden your horizons as well, and explore new artists, both local and ones that are a little bit farther away that you might be able to catch if they come around to Toronto, Montreal, New York. And also give your friends a chance if they're in the same scene as you and you like similar things and you like what they're doing. It's always nice to be able to give a friend a platform to do what they like to do.
Speaking of that, how do you think about, like, is there competition in the city? Like, how do you qualify that? Like, considering Hamilton is not that large of like it is a city, but it's not as large as like Toronto. Like, how do you think about competition in the DIY scene, and like how do you kind of maintain being good with everybody while doing your own thing, kind of?
Being nice and authentic. Just, I don't know, I feel like it's still quite a small scene, and it's easy to communicate with everyone. So I don't think there's many like challenges and competition. It doesn't feel like there's competition.
We were talking before, like it is such a tiny scene, and often in Hamilton there'll be nothing, and then like one night there'll be 5 events that kind of everyone wants to go to. But Geneva's going to start a Google Calendar,
Yes.
So that everyone's.
Let me know
kind of
if you
on the
want to be
same.
added.
But yeah, just going out and supporting other events and supporting friends, and then just chatting with people. I find Hamilton is like so like people are kind in general, especially within the art scene.
And I would add also that, just because it is a small scene, someone asks you to play, you don't want to hurt their feelings, but like if you're not feeling it, don't be afraid to just say no.
We're at 8:30, so we're gonna go for a few more questions, and we can go into the Q&A section. Maybe the final 2 questions that I have maybe for today, it's are there any bookers that are not here today that you want to kind of shout out, or organizers in any kind of way that you want to kind of shout out?
Definitely Babs and Luther.
Yes.
Luther as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
Luther couldn't make it, but yeah.
I see Sarah here, who does amazing parties, fruit salad. Yeah, always amazing. I think Brody is there, if I'm not mistaken. And even though his legendary venue is now closed, I think doing stuff at other spots and like trying to be like, what other spot could be a venue? You know, like I think that's really important. You can have parties at random like pizza places, you know? So yeah, thanks guys.
Luther, love Luther, miss him. And just like the other scenes, the other DIY scenes in the city, like hardcore and punk and other music and galleries and people like that. Yeah.
Amazing. One final questions. Are there any things that you want to kind of see happen? I know that I kind of raised this question before, but like, how do you? Because like being an organizer as a poker, you're almost kind of making predictions almost. Like how do you kind of see city and how different kind of scenes kind of merge together in in recent years? I like for me doing places stuff. I think there's like a local resurgence of like celebrating local folks who are doing things locally, but also I'm a big believer of like listen globally but act locally. That's kind of like the guiding ethos between a lot of the stuff that we do. Maybe there's another question. I just kind of just like hoping a response maybe. Yeah.
I'm not sure if this answers your question, but accessibility, I think, physically, the city's hurting for that. I think we're not doing a good job at that. I think we need to go a lot further for that. Yeah.
Also, lack of venues, maybe another one.
Absolutely, yeah. Always lack of venues in Hamilton. So you're forced into the pizza parlors, the Portuguese restaurants.
But that could become
Little
like
Grass
the
Outlet.
Hamilton thing, you know? Who knows?
Okay, so now we're moving on to Q&A. So as a reminder, you can scan the QR code to submit your questions or feedback. I'll give everybody a few minutes. And if you just want to shout your question, you can also just do so. This is a cool place for that. But yeah. Cool. Question was, do you have a favorite party that you've thrown? Like a party that was like, you feel great, like you just know that was like the moment, you know. Like
I think the New Year's party at the bank was a pretty legendary party for me. So like, you know, because Suba had been a pop-up, and then we knew we were going to be the permanent spot, so we thought, oh, we'll have a New Year's party, and we called it Happy Sue Year, so people would know, like, this is the year that Suba is coming. And it was in this bank at the corner of like Wentworth and King, I think. And the guy who owned the spot was like an ex-Tiger Cat, and he was really cool. He's like, sure, yeah, like he would just kind of let us have it as long as we wanted. And yeah, it was an old bank. Yeah, and it was pretty affordable from what I remember. There was like this cool vault in the basement, which we like filled with candles and made that the smoking section, like so dangerous. But as a result, again, like kind of legendary, you know? Sometimes you have to do those dangerous things, you know, for party cred. But that one stuck out, and I think it did set the tone for like Suba's coming back strong, and people like always remembered that party.
I think we had Limited Network back at our studio last September, and it was supposed to be like 6 p.m. to like 11 p.m. To like make sure there was going to be no noise complaints after. But all the DJs were coming from Toronto, and they were all late, so the party ended up starting at like 9. But it was super fun, and nobody wanted to stop playing, so it went until like 4 or 5 or something. The neighbor was mad the next day, but we diffused the situation.
Worth it.
I don't really want to pick a favorite, but one that pops to mind, maybe the Fortet, Jesse Lanza, Jeremy DJ party at our house was pretty wild and special. Yeah, but lots of special moments over the years.
how do you develop a good community? I think, like, how do you define it? Maybe a worthwhile question.
I think again, it's about those small details, like really hosting, you know, like if you're throwing parties, you're not just like setting it up and then getting drunk and having a good time. Like you are there, you are the host, treat it like you're having people at your home, you're getting to know people, you're watching, like if there's things happening, you're dealing with it, like safety is obviously a huge issue, and like in community there's people who like have a problem with other people or they don't feel safe around that person, so it can get very like complex and gray area, but you have to deal with it like with compassion. And so many people just, you know, you can't necessarily solve the problem, but they just appreciate like being able to come to you and talk things through, and even like the offending party, that you're not just like, get out of here right now, that you like take time to try and understand them and all that stuff. So yeah, really just being present, hosting, warm, friendly, and yeah, like you have responsibility as the host to like almost model that kind of community behavior.
There's a question, I'm going to combine two of them, about facilitating harm reduction on the top right, and also the one on the bottom left about kind of managing crisis, but also making sure everyone's in a safe environment. Like, how much of that is being built into the process, you know, from a festival perspective to like a club culture perspective, yeah.
For my parties, like both Trauma parties and Paradox parties, they are a little bit different. For Paradox, when I joined about like 2 years ago, I started the harm reduction there. So now there's a team of like 5 of us. So what we do is we actually get a lot of our supplies from Soapin Hamilton. They're great. We have a table at all of our parties that includes fentanyl testing strips, straws, alcohol, condoms, lube, snacks, gum, earplugs, pretty much anything you could need, lots of water. We have it at this table. And then on top of that, we usually have somebody at the table to kind of guide you, and like if you have any questions, like what's this used for, how does this help, we're able to teach you. And then we also have people watching the bathrooms, checking through, checking on the dance floor, checking in the smokers area, just having an eye, because it is a few hundred people at each party that we throw. Just making sure that everyone's good. For policies regarding that, any harassment or violence, pretty much they're just gone, not allowed in the venue. If it's like at a club or something, the club usually has their own like workplace safety sheets that they fill out and stuff like that. For when I'm throwing things at like a venue per se, where it's like a lot smaller, I usually just make sure that I'm aware of everything going on and checking bathrooms, checking in with the staff, checking in with the door people, checking in with the crowd, making sure that everyone is okay.
Yeah, so we always make sure we have naloxone on site, and then at the festival we had more of a harm reduction safety tent that we would make sure folks were aware of, and then yeah, having water on site, like readily available, obviously is very, very important. It's remarkable how often you go to parties and clubs that still don't have free water.
Speaking of harm reduction, we do have a panel just about that, in specifically harm reduction in club culture and spaces, around, yep, there we go, hosted by our lovely co-pilot Vanya over there. It's going to happen around May 10th. Actually, don't quote me on it. I'll just go on Instagram anyway. There's a funny one. Thoughts on Hess Street? Is it a redeemable as a party zone, or is it a lost cause?
I'm not trying.
I think it's kind of like a good piece of slice of like what club culture would look like from like it's a specific kind of club culture, like going out, but maybe not.
I mean, I think maybe it could be like Hess wasn't always like the way it is now. You know, it used to be like chill bars with live music, like, so it could have another shift. And we are saying throw parties everywhere you can, anywhere. So could be worth a try. Has anyone been to the new Absinthe yet? Like that's kind of a newish, oldish spot, but maybe that will be a little bit different. Who knows?
Another question. What's a hidden cost to throwing parties that you did not account for initially?
Insurance, big time. Like if you have a brick and mortar space like we did, like the insurance is astronomical monthly. Like it's like as much as your rent, and kind of makes it unaffordable. And then, doing event insurance is less, but it's still an extra cost. Yeah.
Tech stuff, so particular tech riders could have stuff on it that Long McQuaid might not even have, so then you're sourcing that, and it can really add up. And then the artist comes like, oh, that my tech rider is out of date. I don't even use it. So you rent the thing, and then they don't necessarily use it. And then like CDJs, I don't know if they're still. I haven't rented them in a while, but they were very expensive the last time I rented them.
There's like barely any spaces.
Yeah, you could barely find
Long
them.
and McQuaid barely lets you rent them out, or they're just like so booked up. Yeah, tech is a big thing. Gear, finding the right gear. Not necessarily a cost, but just like an oversight. I was like getting things from place to place, making sure that I don't drive, so I kind of relying on somebody else to drive the gear, drive the DJ, get everyone here, get everyone there. And I didn't realize how much running around there would be to set up for an event.
Maybe we'll do two more. Do you think events held in outdoor spaces are appropriate? If you have any experience with such events, what were the difficulties? Maybe Dallas? Yeah.
Are they appropriate?
Yeah, whatever this person means by it.
They're very appropriate, I would say. Yeah, especially like post-COVID or COVID times. I mean, those who might be immunocompromised, that might be a more comfortable environment for them. If the weather is nice, why wouldn't you want to be outside? And from the events that we've done, the community folks who might not necessarily be exposed to this type of music, who are cruising by and they stop and they're just like, wow, this is amazing. Like, and seeing those moments is a great thing, because we can have such an insular community in Hamilton, I find. So just opening it up to the broader community can never be a bad thing, I think. A party in a parking lot sounds good to me. I don't know. But what were the boundaries? Or was that a question?
What are the difficulties?
Difficulties. Well, I mean, noise complaints, perhaps. Some people want quiet. I don't know what, they live in a city, but they want quiet, I guess, sometimes. Yeah, and the park. I mean, getting things across grass, perhaps. Power could be an issue. There's lots of little things like that maybe you don't think about. But
Sound could bounce funny depending where you are.
Yeah. But there's a nice outdoor space out there. I think that's aching for a party.
Yeah.
Okay, hi. Just a few words from the ink. We do rentals. Yeah, we do. So send us an email or come chat with us if you're interested. We also sometimes do partnerships where you don't have to rent something. Yeah, it's very fun.
The next question goes back to booking, maybe. What's the gold standard for an artist reaching out to you, or vice versa? How can the process be a little bit easier?
I don't know about reaching out to us, but like when you're reaching out to an artist, make sure you include as many details as possible, like what your capacity is, what the timing's going to be, who you've booked in the past. Agents especially like to know that. Anything else? Any other little details?
Budget.
Well, yeah, but
I think for an artist who's maybe reaching out to a booker, keep in mind like that person's probably like they might not book that much because like they do other stuff too, like they have a full-time job or something. Like booking is not necessarily their full-time gig, so don't take it personally if they're unable to accommodate. But I do like the idea of maybe more of a network of promoters in Hamilton where one person can't facilitate the event, but they say who else could maybe take this, because it's unfortunate when your schedule gets in the way of a great event.
It's a good idea. I like that.
Maybe we'll do one more, one final.
And there's a question.
Oh, there's a question. Where is it? Yep, go for it.
One of the biggest issues, like one of the greatest things that happened to me when I moved back to Hamilton in 2014 was that Facebook at the time had this thing where it would just invite you to all the events that all the people you were friends with were going, or you would. It was very easy, and I think they monetized that eventually, and that disappeared. But that was how I found out about Strange Waves and Strange Barn and Haven at the time, and ever since then, it's like luck of the draw algorithm on Instagram telling you that there's a part like this tonight. I didn't know about it until this morning because it happened to pop up because maybe Dallas shared it. Is there any successful way that you've heard of where people in a community, in one city, can bring everything together in one place? I know there's been hundreds of different things that have, like the View used to exist, and you'd go there and look at it. But then people started these bands in town, but that all got corporatized, right? So is there a way everyone who already knows each other, like Google Calendar or whatever you were talking about, to make it like the place to go on Thursday where I'm like, what am I going to do this week?
There's a Substack, Hammond Listings, I think it's called. Stuart Berman runs it, and it's a lot of indie rock and stuff, but he does cover club events. So I definitely suggest signing up for that. It gets in your inbox every Thursday, tells you what's going on for the next week. So pretty good. It's pretty comprehensive. Adrian.
Go for it.
Thanks for the great panel discussion. So like approaching venues one-off, right? Like what any suggestions for like approaching venues one-off as like just how to sell it as something that's conducive or that they're gonna actually say yes to, especially if it's like a novel venue like a bank or something like that. Just what's the pitch kind of to say this is a thing, but we have whatever your idea is, and then maybe for you, Dallas, Eric hadn't done as many as like outdoor things per se, but like those mitigating factors if you do have a bylaw issue. So with Strange Waves, were you like measuring sound and stuff to get decibel ratings, or were you doing anything to sort of like mitigate bylaw concerns? And if a bylaw officer did come in the moment, what would you do?
A couple questions.
Seeking into time.
So the first question was about like
Yeah.
booking a party in a new venue, like
Mhm.
trying to sell it. Yeah.
Well, I saw you do this, Adrian, a couple weeks ago in the Germania Club basement. You approached the owner, and it's just a matter of a conversation. And if you have an in there, obviously that helps a lot because what we're doing, they have no idea what it is. Like, you talk to the average person, they don't know what like a DIY show is or DIY party. Like they're used to just the most mainstream of things. So they likely imagine the worst. So if you can somehow strike up a relationship with them, I think that's probably your only hope. Unless they're just desperate for business, then maybe they'll give you a shot. I don't know. We did some stuff at the Little Grasshopper, and it was unorthodox for sure. The glassware was rattling, and it's tiny. It wasn't maybe the best spot, but a lot of places are hurting. So maybe if you just go in a couple times and create a relationship there, then they'd be more likely.
Yeah, and I think it is more realistic nowadays to try and go for places that do already have a bar, like they're looking for new people to come. It's really hard just seeing like, oh, that's a cool empty space. Like, let me try and talk to the landlord and get them to let me throw a one-off party. Like, not to say it can't be done, but that's more challenging. So if there's a place where there's something more in it for them, that's probably going to be a better bet. And then also less work for you. Like, yeah, you might want to zhuzh it to your taste a bit, but you're not like doing everything to create this party for one night, which is like so much work. So that would be what I would think.
Second question about bylaw, which I think like pretty
Yeah.
relevant because like currently Toronto there's like a motion going on with like bylaw, restricting that.
The SOP
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah. So maybe speak to
Yeah, I mean, for noise, I would just go for it, and don't worry about. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna if it beyond a certain decibel. Like it's not even that loud. If it's going to be an issue, it's going to be an issue. So like I would just ask for forgiveness later or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, jumping through the hoops of SOP stuff. That's I don't know. It's a lot, and I don't know if it's even worth it to get a special occasions permit for like an outdoor thing in Hamilton.
No.
I don't think it would be.
And sorry, I just wanted to come back because you were talking about the one-stop shop for listings and stuff. And like Geneva, are you planning to do this Google Drive thing?
More for like promoters so that days don't overlap. So I feel like there could be
Okay.
one for that, and then also one for just like events. But also I wanted to say Rohan has Out Dancing Hamilton. If you're trying to dance, he updates it every day. He's got a website and he's got an Instagram where he posts on his stories every event, and it's all listed very easy to see.
And I feel like maybe there's also a way that we could use AI to just be like, okay, computer, go collate every event that you see. Like, that could be a good use of it, right? So, Adrian, I know you're good with ChatGPT. Maybe you can take that on.
Also, CFMU, I'm going to jump into your question a bit. CFMU is a big resource and advocate for Places Collective. They have their own network. If you're a driver, you will be on the radio, probably, maybe. You listen to one of the Places show, Strange Waves show, or like Collective Rhythm. A lot of people that we have already mentioned, like probably they have a show there already. So another way to like get to know your community and knowing what's happening. But yeah, question, yes.
I just wanted to share, I'm the managing director for Hamilton Fringe Festival, and so just also any like cool weirdos want to talk to me about stuff, like please do, hello. But something that a lot of the nonprofits and the arts orgs are trying to get the city to support is some type of app or something that is a central event listing thing. So I don't know, if maybe like a bunch of people started DMing or tagging Tourism Hamilton's Instagram being like, yo, I would love to have a centrally located thing that says all the cool stuff that's happening in this city. That'd be great, just to throw that into the room. Also, this was great, thank you.
Do we have more questions? Yes, question.
Yeah, so I know when you're trying to start something for the first time and you do it a few times, there's like an iterative process of learning. I guess I have a question I can ask two ways, which is what has been like the most counterintuitive thing learning that you had while doing the process of learning how to throw parties? Or on the flip side, I guess, what is the most interesting thing you've learned throwing parties over time?
Something that doesn't make sense, but it actually makes so much sense afterwards, like in retrospect.
That's a good question.
I don't know. We have a couple events coming out, and the one event we're actually collaborating with the artist who's putting out a record, and they were really trying to figure out like what's the most interesting spot that this event could happen in. And they were really thinking outside the box, like really outside the box, and it was really exciting to imagine it there. But then just the amount of like it eventually it was just like, okay, it's going to happen at 486 on Barton. So it's just sometimes the road the easiest route is the best route, because then if you're not stressing about these other things, as much as interesting as it would be to have it there, sometimes it's just easier to go with the obvious. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess counterintuitive, maybe something I didn't expect, like that, so many people reach out to you once you start doing things, and that can become a little bit overwhelming because when you start, you think like, oh my God, no one's going to want to do this. Like, I'm going to have to ask this person, and then it becomes kind of the opposite, and then you have to manage that, and then really think about like, okay, all these people are reaching out, but like who do I want to say yes to? Who do I want to work with? That can become a bit challenging. And that's something I didn't really think of going in, and was maybe counterintuitive, because you're thinking like, oh no, I'm going to need to try so hard to find people who will want to do this. And like, actually it's the opposite.
Okay. Thank you for all the questions. Yeah, that was great. I hope the panel was great to you and you learned a few things maybe. I certainly did learn a few things as well. But before we go, and Is there anything you want to do, a quick plug, personal project, or people want to shout out again, maybe?
We have a couple shows coming up. May 30th and June 21st. We'll be announcing the first show next week. It's going to be a hot one, so keep your eyes peeled.
Can you give us a little hint?
No, not really. But on Wednesday, we'll let you know. Yeah, it'll be good.
We have Techno Tuesday this Tuesday with Jeff as one of our special guests. Will be very fun. Buy your pre-sale on RA. It's cheaper. What else do we have? We have a few things coming up in June. We have another Techno Tuesday in May with 2 guys from Wisconsin that are really cool. Yeah, just some monthly events. Usually out in the New. Usually pretty fun. You can check them out.
Yeah, I'm happily retired from party throwing, so nothing.
Exactly. Final kind of housekeeping items. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm constantly so grateful for so many cool things. Like, we get to be not just part of it, but like be really active, like be in it as well, like being in the process. That's really beautiful. And along with so many different organizers as well. And I get to meet so many people and work with so many people in so many different ways. I'm sure that applies to you as well. Tonight we do have a dance. Actually, the harm reduction workshop is happening on the May 9th, May 10th, 1 to 3 p.m. It's going to be joined by our partners from SOPAN and also from Sasha. So please take a look. Be an advocate. Like, this is where you kind of not just be a participant, but you also learn how to become an organizer by being a participant. Yes, there will be a free training as well from that. So please make sure to come out. What else? We'll be going dancing later at 10 at a venue. A bunch of fun stuff. I hope to see you dance a little bit. Yeah. And also, just come hang out. This space, we only have this space until May 17th, so there'll be lots of programming happening in this space. Dancing, chatting, gossiping, talking shit. Like, I don't know. Like, just come out. Like people always be like, "Where are the third spaces?" But then you don't come. Like I can't control. Like, you know.
Also, bring your artifacts for their shrine to the club. I think it's so awesome.
Yep. I guess this is it. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Trying to be a part of it.